Chosen ones, God is now funding your life completely. No more worries. Can you feel that spark igniting in your spirit, that whisper in your soul that says this moment is different? This isn't just another day, another video, or another fleeting thought. This is heaven's divine interruption, a sacred summons crafted for you, chosen one, to step into a life of overflowing blessings and divine provision. Your heart might be racing, your hands trembling, because deep within you sense it. This is your divine moment. The hour when God declares, no more lack, no more struggle, no more delays. Picture a radiant scroll unfurling in the courts of heaven, your name etched in golden light, with the words fully funded by the Almighty blazing across it. This is not a promise for tomorrow. It's a decree for now. But here's the truth that will shake you to your core. God's funding for your life, your financial freedom, your prosperous life, your breakthrough, requires you to act, to believe, to step forward in faith. Are you ready to claim the abundance God has already released? Or will you let fear keep you chained to a life of just enough? You didn't stumble upon this message by accident. While billions scroll through endless distractions, heaven has pressed pause on the chaos of this world to speak directly to you. This is your spiritual awakening, your divine appointment with destiny. For years you've carried burdens that others couldn't see, bills piling up, dreams deferred, nights spent wondering how you'd make ends meet. You've prayed prayers that seemed to vanish into silence, watched others prosper while you wrestled with lack, and maybe even wondered if God had forgotten your name. But listen carefully, chosen one. Every financial struggle, every closed door, every moment of scarcity was not punishment, it was divine preparation. God wasn't ignoring you, He was forging you. Like gold refined in fire, your trials have been shaping you for a prosperous life, so magnificent it required this level of resilience. The enemy thought your hardships would break you, but God whispers today, I've been building you for abundance. Let's talk about that word, abundance. It's not just a buzzword or a distant dream. It's God's promise rooted in His unchanging word. John 10:10 declares, I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. Not barely, not scraping by, but abundantly. Picture a river overflowing its banks, flooding every dry place in your life with divine provision. That's what God is releasing for you right now. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. Your financial struggles weren't random. They were strategic attacks to keep you small, to make you doubt your divine purpose. Every time you faced lack, every time a door slammed shut, hell was trying to convince you that prosperity wasn't for you. But today we're exposing that lie. You weren't created to live in lack. You were chosen for a life of overflow, a life where God funds every dream, every vision, every step of your faith journey. Think about Joseph, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, locked in a dungeon for years. Door after door slammed in his face. Yet Genesis 50:20 reveals the truth. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. Every rejection was redirecting him to become Egypt's second in command, overseeing a nation's wealth. Your story is no different. That job you lost, divine redirection. That business that failed, divine preparation. That financial drought that left you weary, divine training for the wealth creation God is now unleashing. You weren't forgotten, chosen one. You were positioned. God has been building a launch pad in your wilderness, and now the rockets of His provision are ready to soar. But let's get real for a moment. I know what it's like to lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering how you'll pay the bills, how you'll fund that dream burning in your heart, how you'll break free from the cycle of just getting by. I see you, chosen one. Maybe you're a single parent stretching every dollar, a student drowning in loans, or an entrepreneur who poured everything into a vision only to face setback after setback. Your pain is real, but so is God's promise. Psalm 23:1 proclaims, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Not, "I might not want," or "I'll have just enough." I shall not want. God is not a God of scarcity. He's a God of overflow, and He's ready to fund your life completely. If this message is stirring your soul, if you feel a spark of hope igniting, consider supporting this ministry through super thanks below. Your seed doesn't just keep this channel going, it helps spread the message of divine provision to other chosen ones still trapped in lack. Whether you give or simply receive, your presence here is no accident. You're part of a divine movement, a remnant rising to claim God's promises. So let's make this personal. Why do you feel stuck? Is it fear whispering, "You're not enough"? Is it doubt saying, "Prosperity is for others"? Or maybe it's the weight of past mistakes, convincing you that you've missed your chance. Let me tell you something that will shatter those lies. Your past does not disqualify you. Your mistakes don't cancel God's plan. Your struggles don't erase your divine purpose. Consider Sarah, a 42-year-old teacher from Charlotte, North Carolina. For years, she struggled to make ends meet, teaching by day and driving for a rideshare app by night. She dreamed of opening a community center for at-risk youth, but could never afford it. One night, feeling defeated, she stumbled across a message like this one. Her heart raced as she heard, "God is funding your vision." Instead of dismissing it, she took a small step, writing down her dream and sharing it with a friend. That friend connected her to a local pastor who offered a small church space for free. Within months, Sarah's center was serving 20 kids, funded by unexpected donations and grants she never knew existed. Sarah wasn't wealthy or connected, she was faithful. Her story isn't verified, but it's relatable because it could be yours. God doesn't need your resources, He needs your response. Here's where this video takes a unique turn. Unlike other messages that focus on waiting for miracles, this one unveils how your deepest fears are the keys to your greatest breakthroughs. Fear isn't your enemy, it's your invitation. Every time you've hesitated to start that business, apply for that job, or invest in that dream, fear was guarding the door to your prosperity. But 2 Timothy 1:7 reminds us, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. That fear you feel, it's not from God. It's a phantom God, and today we're firing it. Picture yourself standing before a golden door, your name carved in shimmering light. There's no lock, no chain, just fear whispering, "What if you fail? But what if you succeed? What if this door leads to the financial freedom God promised?" Let's pause for a moment. If this message is awakening something in you, if you feel God's promise of abundance stirring your spirit, type "I am claiming my divine provision" in the comments below. Your declaration isn't just words, it's a spiritual contract, a signal to heaven that you're ready to step into your prosperous life. And while you're there, pray for the person who commented before you. This is how we build a community of chosen ones, lifting each other into God's overflow. Your comment could be the spark someone else needs to believe again. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Why haven't you seen this breakthrough yet? It's not because God's holding out. It's not because you're unworthy. It's because divine provision requires divine alignment. Think about the Israelites, standing at the edge of the Red Sea, Pharaoh's army closing in. They cried out to God, but Exodus 14:15 reveals His response. "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is stop praying and start walking. Faith isn't passive, it's active. It's the bridge between your current reality and God's promises. And right now, God is asking you to take specific steps to align with His funding for your life. Here are 3 actionable steps to position yourself for God's divine provision. First, write down one specific financial goal for the next 30 days. Maybe it's saving $500, 0 cents, applying for a new job, or launching that side hustle. Be clear, be bold, and place it somewhere you'll see daily. Habakkuk 2:2 says, "Write the vision, make it plain." Your written goal is a seed planted in faith. Second, reach out to one person who can support your dream, a mentor, a friend, or even a stranger who's walked the path you're on. Proverbs 15:22 teaches, "Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed." Your breakthrough often comes through connection. Third, take one tangible step toward your vision today. Register that business name, update your resume, or research that grant. James 2:17 declares, "Faith without works is dead." These steps aren't magic, they're obedience. And obedience unlocks God's overflow. These 3 steps are your roadmap, chosen one. No more waiting for perfect conditions. No more analyzing every risk. God's funding is already in motion, but it flows to those who move. Imagine this, a vast treasury in heaven filled with resources labeled with your name. Wealth for your business, provision for your family, abundance for your legacy. It's not locked away, it's waiting for you to claim it. But claiming it means trusting God over fear, choosing faith over doubt, and acting when the path isn't fully clear. Like Peter stepping out of the boat onto raging waters, your miracle happens when you move. Let's talk about someone else who stepped out. Michael, a 35-year-old mechanic from Tulsa, Oklahoma. He always dreamed of starting a mobile repair service, but was paralyzed by fear of failure. Debt from past ventures haunted him, and he told himself, "I'm not the type to succeed." One Sunday, a sermon on God's provision hit him hard. He took a leap, wrote a business plan, called a friend for advice, and printed flyers. Within weeks, he had 5 clients, then 10. A local shop owner, impressed by his hustle, offered a partnership. Today, Michael's service employs 3 people and is debt-free. Michael didn't have a degree or a trust fund. He had faith and action. His story feels real because it mirrors what God can do through you. Now, here's where it gets exciting. God's funding isn't just about money, it's about purpose. When He funds your life, He funds your calling. That ministry you've dreamed of? Funded. That book you've shelved? Funded. That community project you've sketched on napkins? Funded. But purpose requires courage. Fear will scream, "You're too old, too broke, too broken." But Isaiah 61:3 promises, God will give you beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. Your ashes, your failures, your setbacks are the raw materials for God's masterpiece. Your breakthrough isn't just financial, it's transformational. A personal transformation that will leave skeptics speechless. As we stand at this threshold, chosen one, I need you to feel the urgency. This isn't a season, it's a moment. Revelation 3:8 declares, "I have set before you an open door which no one is able to shut." But that door has a timer and it's ticking, not because God is cruel, but because divine opportunities are tied to divine timing. Esther didn't wait for a safer moment to approach the king. Noah didn't wait for rain to build the ark. You can't wait for fear to vanish or doubts to dissolve. Your faith journey is calling you to act now. to claim the prosperous life God has funded for you. So, what's holding you back? Is it the fear of failure, whispering that you'll fall flat? Or the fear of success, warning that prosperity will change you? Maybe it's the lie that you're not chosen, that abundance is for others. Let me prophesy over you. You are not ordinary. You are the answer to someone's prayer, the key to someone's breakthrough, the spark for someone's revival. Your life matters. Your choices ripple through eternity, and your obedience unlocks doors for generation. Picture those generations, your children, their children, walking in freedom because you dared to claim God's provision today. But what if the fear you're facing is the very doorway to your divine provision? Let's dive back into this divine moment, chosen one, where God is proclaiming that He is now funding your life completely. No more worries. That question lingers in the air. What if the fear you're facing is the very doorway to your divine provision? Picture it. A shimmering portal, radiant with promise, standing open before you. It's not locked, not barred, but guarded by a shadow of fear that whispers lies about your worth, your readiness, your right to claim the prosperous life God has prepared. Yet, 2 Timothy 1:7 echoes through the heavens, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. That fear is not your master, it's a defeated foe. And today you're stepping through that doorway into a life of abundance, breakthrough, and personal transformation. Feel that stirring in your chest, that quickening in your spirit. It's not anxiety, it's anticipation. It's the Holy Spirit confirming that this is your moment of spiritual awakening, the hour when God's funding floods every dry place in your life. Imagine a vast treasury in heaven, its vaults overflowing with resources labeled with your name. Wealth for your dreams, provision for your needs, overflow for your legacy. This isn't a fairy tale. It's a promise rooted in Deuteronomy 8:18, where God says, "It is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth." Your financial freedom isn't a distant hope, it's a divine mandate, and God is ready to unleash it now. But here's the key. His provision flows to those who align with His purpose, who dare to move past fear and into faith. Let's talk about that fear for a moment, because it's the unique angle of this message. Fear isn't just an obstacle, it's a signal, a marker pointing to the very place where your breakthrough awaits. Every time you've hesitated to start that business, to forgive that person, to pursue that calling, fear was standing at the threshold of your destiny. Think about David facing Goliath in 1 Samuel 17. His knees might have trembled, his heart surely pounded, but he didn't let fear write his story. He slung that stone, and a giant fell. Your giant, whether it's debt, doubt, or delay, is no match for the faith God has planted in you. Fear is loud, but faith is stronger, and today you're choosing faith to unlock your prosperous life. Now, let's revisit those 3 actionable steps we discussed earlier, because they're your roadmap to aligning with God's funding. First, you've written down one specific financial goal for the next 30 days. Maybe it's saving a set amount, applying for a promotion, or launching a project. That written vision, as Habakkuk 2:2 commands, is your declaration of faith. Second, you've reached out to someone who can support your dream, a mentor, a friend, a colleague. Proverbs 15:22 reminds us that plans fail for lack of counsel, and your breakthrough often comes through divine connections. Third, you've taken one tangible step today, registering a business, updating a resume, or researching opportunities. James 2:17 declares, "Faith without works is dead, and your action is the spark that ignites God's provision." These steps are enough, chosen one. No more searching for new tasks. Just walk faithfully in these. and watch God move. Let's meet someone who walked this path. Lydia, a 28-year-old barista from Seattle, Washington. She dreamed of opening a bakery but was buried under student loans and self-doubt. Fear told her, "You're not a businesswoman, stick to pouring coffee." One evening, scrolling online, she felt a message like this pierce her heart. God is funding your dream. She took 3 steps. Wrote a goal to save $1,000, 0 cents in 30 days. Called a former professor who'd owned a cafe and designed a logo for her bakery. That professor introduced her to a local investor, and within 6 months, Lydia's bakery was serving her signature lavender scones to a growing community. Her story isn't verified, but it's real enough to inspire you. Like Lydia, your small steps in faith unlock God's overflow. Now, imagine standing at that radiant portal, fear fading as you see what's on the other side. A life where bills are paid with ease, where your dreams are funded without strain, where your generosity changes lives. This is the abundant life Jesus promised in John 10:10, not just for others but for you. But abundance isn't just money, it's purpose, peace and power. It's knowing your work matters, your life inspires, and your faith moves mountains. Psalm 37 verse 4 says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." Your heart's desires, those dreams you've buried under years of lack, are God's desires for you, and He's funding them now. But here's where it gets personal, chosen one. Why do some walk into prosperity while others stay stuck? It's not about luck or favoritism, it's about response. Remember the parable of the talents in Matthew 25. The servants who acted on what they were given saw increase, while the one who buried his talent lost even what he had. God has given you talents, gifts, dreams, opportunities, but fear can bury them. Today, you're unearthing those talents, stepping into your divine purpose with boldness. Fear says, "What if you fail?" Faith says, "What if God's plan is bigger than you can imagine?" And it is. Ephesians 3:20 promises that God is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine. Your breakthrough isn't just possible, it's inevitable when you move in faith. Let's pause again to connect with this community of chosen ones. If you're feeling God's promise of divine provision stirring in your spirit, type, "I am stepping into my abundance" in the comments below. Your words are a prophetic act, sealing your commitment to this faith journey. And take a moment to pray for the person who commented before you. Your prayer could be the spark that ignites their breakthrough. This is how we rise together, a remnant claiming God's overflowing blessings. Your declaration isn't just for you, it's a beacon for others still wrestling with lack. Now let's address a lie the enemy loves to whisper. Prosperity is selfish. Nothing could be further from the truth. God's funding isn't about hoarding wealth, it's about stewarding it for His kingdom. When He funds your life, you become a channel of blessing, a conduit of generosity. Think about Abraham, blessed to be a blessing in Genesis 12:2. Your prosperous life isn't just for you, it's for the orphan you'll feed, the student you'll scholarship, the community you'll Malachi 3:10 challenges us. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven. God's abundance flows through open hands, not clenched fists. Your breakthrough is a testimony that will shake nations. But what about those moments when doubt creeps back in? When the bank account looks empty, the job offer hasn't come, or the dream feels further away than ever. That's when you lean into Hebrews 11:1, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith doesn't deny reality, it transcends it. Like Daniel in the lion's den, your faith shuts the mouths of doubt. Like Esther approaching the king, your courage unlocks divine favor. Your faith journey isn't about seeing the whole path. It's about trusting the one who carved it. God's funding is already in motion, chosen one, but it manifests when you keep walking, keep believing, keep acting on those 3 steps. Let's talk about someone else who trusted God's timing. James, a 50-year-old construction worker from Atlanta, Georgia. After a workplace injury left him unemployed, he feared he'd never recover financially. One night, a friend shared a message about God's provision, and James felt a spark. He wrote a goal to start a handyman service, called a former co-worker for advice, and posted an ad online. Within days, he had 2 clients, then 5. A local church hired him for a major renovation, and now James mentors young men in his trade. His story isn't verified, but it's a mirror for your potential. Like James, your faith in action unlocks God's divine provision. As we stand at this sacred threshold, chosen one, I need you to feel the weight of this moment. This isn't just about paying bills or chasing dreams. It's about stepping into your divine purpose, becoming the person God saw when He chose you before the world began. Revelation 3:20 says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock." But today, God isn't knocking. He's holding the door wide open, inviting you to cross into a life of abundance. The question isn't whether He'll fund your life, it's whether you'll trust Him enough to step through. Fear may scream, "You're not ready," but faith whispers, "God's timing is perfect." So, what's next? You've got your 3 steps: writing your goal, connecting with a supporter, taking action today. You've declared your faith in the comments, joining a community of chosen ones. Now keep moving. Every step you take is a defiance of fear, a declaration of trust, a key turning in the lock of your breakthrough. Picture that treasury in heaven, its resources pouring out like a waterfall, flooding your life with provision, purpose, and peace. This is your moment, chosen one, to claim the prosperous life God has funded for you. But what if the next step you take unlocks a legacy that outlives you, a testimony that inspires generations? That question hangs in the air like a divine challenge, chosen one. What if the next step you take unlocks a legacy that outlives you, a testimony that inspires generations? You're standing at the edge of a sacred moment where God is proclaiming that He is now funding your life completely. No more worries. Picture a golden river of divine provision flowing from heaven's treasury, cascading into every corner of your existence, your finances, your dreams, your purpose. This isn't a fleeting promise. It's a covenant rooted in Jeremiah 29:11, where God declares, "I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Your prosperous life is not a fantasy, it's a divine blueprint, and God is ready to fund every line of it. But here's the truth that will stir your spirit. Your breakthrough isn't just for you, it's for the generations behind you, the souls you'll never meet, the lives transformed because you dared to step into your divine purpose. Feel that fire kindling in your chest? That's not just emotion, it's the Holy Spirit awakening your spiritual DNA, reminding you that you were chosen before the stars were hung in the sky. Ephesians 1:4 says, "He chose us in Him before the foundation of the world." You're not here by chance, scrolling through endless noise. This message hunted you down, a divine arrow piercing through the distractions of a broken world to reach your soul. For too long you've carried the weight of lack, bills that seem to multiply, dreams that feel out of reach, moments of wondering if God's promises apply to you. But listen closely, chosen one. Every financial struggle, every sleepless night, every door that slammed shut was not a denial. It was divine preparation. Like a seed buried in dark soil, your trials have been nurturing the roots of a prosperous life that's about to break through. Let's talk about that legacy, because this video's unique angle isn't just about overcoming fear. It's about building something eternal. Fear may guard the door to your breakthrough, but faith builds the bridge to your destiny. Every step you take toward God's funding is a brick laid in a legacy that will outlive you. Think about Abraham, called at 75 to father nations in Genesis 12:2. His obedience didn't just bless him, it birthed a lineage that changed history. Your obedience today, your choice to trust God's provision, could fund a ministry that saves souls, a business that employs families, a movement that shifts cultures. Your prosperous life isn't selfish, it's sacred, a testimony that declares God's faithfulness to a watching world. Now let's anchor ourselves in those 3 actionable steps we've already set, because they're your keys to unlocking this divine provision. First, you've written down one specific financial goal for the next 30 days. Maybe it's saving $1,000, 0 cents, applying for a grant, or launching a side hustle. Habakkuk 2:2 says, "Write the vision, make it plain, and your written goal is a prophetic act, a seed sown in faith." Second, you've reached out to someone who can support your dream, a mentor, a friend, or a colleague. Proverbs 15:22 reminds us, "Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed." Your breakthrough often flows through divine connections. Third, you've taken one tangible step today, registering a business name, updating a resume, or researching opportunities. Faith without works is dead, and your action is the spark that ignites God's overflow. These steps are your foundation, chosen one. No new tasks are needed. Just walk faithfully in these and watch God's funding manifest. Let's meet someone who built a legacy through faith. Grace, a 55-year-old nurse from Houston, Texas. After decades of living paycheck to paycheck, she dreamed of starting a free clinic for her underserved community. Fear told her, "You're too old, too broke, too tired." But one night, a message like this stirred her spirit. God is funding your purpose. She took 3 steps, wrote a goal to raise $5,000, 0 cents in 30 days, called a retired doctor friend for advice, and filed for nonprofit status. That friend connected her to a local foundation, which granted $10,000, 0 cents. Today, Grace's clinic serves hundreds, and her daughter now runs a second location. Grace's story isn't verified, but it's real enough to mirror your potential. Like her, your small steps in faith can build a legacy that echoes through eternity. Now imagine standing before that golden river of provision, its waters sparkling with promise. On one side, you see lack, fear, and doubt, the wilderness you've wandered too long. On the other, you see abundance, purpose, and legacy, the prosperous life God has funded. Joshua 1:9 commands, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." This is your moment to cross over, to leave the wilderness behind and step into the land of promise. But crossing requires courage, because the enemy will fight hardest when you're closest to your breakthrough. Let's pause to connect with this community of chosen ones. If you feel God's promise of a funded life igniting your faith, type, "I am building my legacy" in the comments below. Your declaration is a spiritual milestone, a signal to heaven that you're ready to claim your divine provision. And pray for the person who commented before you. Your prayer could be the key that unlocks their breakthrough. This is how we rise together, a remnant forging legacies that glorify God. Your comment isn't just words, it's a beacon for others still trapped in lack. Now let's address a lie the enemy loves to spread. You've missed your chance. Maybe you're thinking, "I'm too old. I've failed too many times. My mistakes are too big." Let me prophesy over you. Your past does not disqualify you. Your age doesn't limit God. Your failures don't cancel his plan. Look at Moses, called at 80 to lead a nation out of Egypt. Look at Sarah, 90 when she birthed Isaac, the child of promise. Isaiah 61:7 promises, "Instead of your shame, you will receive a double portion." Your setbacks are set-ups for a comeback so glorious it will leave skeptics speechless. God's funding isn't based on your resume. It's based on his faithfulness. But here's where it gets practical. God's provision often flows through unexpected channels. That job you didn't expect, that stranger who offers help, that idea that wakes you at 3 a.m. These are divine downloads, not coincidences. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." Your faith journey isn't about figuring it all out. It's about trusting God's process. When you wrote that goal, reached out for support and took that step, you aligned with his process, and now his provision is flowing. Let's talk about someone else who trusted God's channels. Samuel, a 32-year-old graphic designer from Miami, Florida. Laid off during a company downsizing, he feared losing his home. A sermon on God's provision challenged him to act. He wrote a goal to freelance for 3 clients in 30 days, emailed a former colleague for leads, and posted his portfolio online. Within a week, he landed a contract that paid double his old salary. Today, Samuel's design firm employs 5 people, and he mentors young artists in his church. His story isn't verified, but it's a mirror for your potential. Like Samuel, your faith in action unlocks God's divine provision. Now, let's get to the heart of this moment. Why does God want to fund your life? Because your breakthrough is a testimony, a living proof that he's still in the miracle business. When he funds your business, heals your family, or restores your finances, it's not just for you. It's for the skeptic who'll believe again, the prodigal who'll come home, the dreamer who'll dare to hope. Malachi 3:10 says, "Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it." God's funding is an invitation to test his faithfulness, to see his overflow in your life. But what about those moments when the floodgates feel closed? When the bills keep coming, the job doesn't call back, or the dream feels like a mirage? That's when you lean into Hebrews 11:6. Without faith it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. Your faith isn't blind, it's bold, trusting that God's timing is perfect even when it's not yours. Like the widow in 2 Kings 4, who poured oil from one jar into many, your small faith can fill vessels of abundance when you keep pouring. As we stand at this sacred crossroads, chosen one, I need you to feel the urgency. This isn't a season, it's a divine window, a moment when heaven's treasury is open and God's funding is flowing. Revelation 3:8 declares, "I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut." That door is open now, but it won't stay open forever. Not because God is impatient, but because divine opportunities are tied to divine timing. Esther didn't wait for a safer moment to save her people. Noah didn't wait for rain to build the ark. You can't wait for fear to vanish or doubts to dissolve. Your faith journey is calling you to act now, to claim the prosperous life God has funded. So, what's holding you back? Is it the fear of failure, whispering that you'll fall short? Or the fear of success, warning that abundance will change you? Maybe it's the lie that you're not chosen, that prosperity is for others. Let me speak truth over you. You are not ordinary. You are the answer to someone's prayer, the key to someone's breakthrough, the spark for someone's revival. Your life matters. Your choices ripple through eternity, and your obedience builds legacies. Picture those generations, your children, their children, walking in freedom because you dared to claim God's provision today. But what if the legacy you're building is the very key to unlocking heaven's floodgates for someone else? That question pulses like a divine heartbeat. Chosen one. What if the legacy you're building is the very key to unlocking heaven's floodgates for someone else? You're standing in a sacred moment where God is declaring that He is now funding your life completely. No more worries. Picture a celestial vault in heaven, its doors flung wide, pouring out a torrent of divine provision, wealth for your dreams, resources for your calling, abundance for your legacy. This isn't a distant hope, it's a promise sealed in Psalm 112:3, where God says of the righteous, "Wealth and riches are in their house." Your prosperous life is not a maybe, it's a divine certainty, and God is ready to fund every step of your faith journey. But here's the truth that will ignite your spirit. Your breakthrough isn't just for you. It's a key that unlocks freedom for others, a testimony that sets captives free, a legacy that will echo through generations. Are you ready to step into this divine purpose, or will you let fear keep you from the overflow God has prepared? Feel that electricity in the air, that stirring deep within your soul? It's not imagination. It's the Holy Spirit confirming that this is your spiritual awakening, your divine appointment with destiny. You didn't stumble across this message. Heaven orchestrated this moment, cutting through the noise of a distracted world to reach you. For too long, you've carried the weight of financial struggles, bills that never seem to end, dreams deferred by lack, moments of wondering if God's promises are for someone else. But listen closely, chosen one. Every closed door, every sleepless night, every trial was not rejection. It was divine preparation. Like a diamond formed under pressure, your hardships have been shaping you for a prosperous life. So radiant, it required this refining. The enemy thought your struggles would crush you, but God whispers today, "I've been crafting you for abundance." Let's lean into this video's unique angle. Building a legacy through faith where fear is not your foe but a signpost to your breakthrough. Fear guards the door to your divine provision, but faith forges the legacy that outlives you. Every time you've hesitated to launch that business, to reconcile that relationship, to pursue that calling, fear was marking the threshold of your destiny. But 1 John 4:18 proclaims, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear." God's perfect love is casting out every fear holding you back, inviting you to step into a life of overflow. Think about David, whose faith in facing Goliath didn't just win a battle, it established a legacy that led to the throne. Your faith today isn't just about paying bills, it's about building a legacy that changes lives. Now, let's anchor ourselves in those 3 actionable steps we've already set, because they're your bridge to God's funding. First, you've written down one specific financial goal for the next 30 days. Perhaps saving $500, 0 cents, applying for a new job, or starting a project. Habakkuk 2:2 says, "Write the vision, make it plain," and your written goal is a seed planted in faith. Second, you've reached out to someone who can support your dream, a mentor, a friend, or a colleague. Proverbs 15:22 teaches, "Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed." Your breakthrough flows through divine connections. Third, you've taken one tangible step today. Registering a business, updating a resume, or researching opportunities, declaring God's faith without works is dead, and your action ignites God's provision. These steps are your foundation, chosen one. No new tasks are needed. Just walk faithfully in these and watch God's overflow manifest. Let's meet someone who built a legacy through these steps. Esther, a 38-year-old single mother from Detroit, Michigan. Struggling to provide for her 2 children, she dreamed of starting a catering business but feared failure. One Sunday, a message about God's provision stirred her heart. She took 3 steps, wrote a goal to cater 1 event in 30 days, called a cousin who owned a restaurant for advice, and posted her menu on social media. That cousin hired her for a small event, which led to referrals. Within a year, Esther's business was thriving, and she now mentors other single mothers in entrepreneurship. Her story isn't verified, but it's relatable, because it could be yours. Like Esther, your small steps in faith can unlock a legacy of abundance. Now, picture yourself standing before that celestial vault, its treasures spilling out, wealth for your vision, provision for your family, resources for your calling. On one side, you see the wilderness of lack, where fear and doubt have held you captive. On the other, you see the promised land of prosperity, where God's funding flows without limit. Deuteronomy 31:6 commands, "Be strong and courageous, do not be afraid or terrified, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." This is your moment to cross over, to leave fear behind and step into the overflow God has funded. But crossing requires faith, because the enemy will fight hardest when you're closest to your breakthrough. Let's pause to connect with this community of chosen ones. If you feel God's promise of a funded life awakening your spirit, type, "I am forging my legacy" in the comments below. Your declaration is a prophetic act, a signal to heaven that you're ready to claim your divine provision. And pray for the person who commented before you. Your prayer could be the spark that ignites their breakthrough. This is how we rise together. A remnant building legacies that glorify God. Your comment isn't just words, it's a light for others still wandering in lack. Now let's tackle another lie the enemy loves to whisper. You're too broken to be blessed. Maybe you're thinking, "I've made too many mistakes, missed too many chances, failed too often." Let me speak truth over you. Your brokenness is your qualification. Isaiah 61:1 proclaims, "The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor, to bind up the brokenhearted." God specializes in using the broken, the overlooked, the unlikely. Look at Rahab, a prostitute who became a hero of faith in Hebrews 11. Look at Peter, who denied Jesus yet preached at Pentecost. Your scars don't disqualify you, they authenticate you. God's funding flows to those who trust His grace, not their perfection. But here's where it gets practical. God's provision often comes through unexpected doors, a sudden opportunity, a chance encounter, a spark of inspiration. That idea that keeps you awake, that connection you've been hesitant to make, that step you've delayed, these are divine portals. Proverbs 16:9 says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." Your faith journey isn't about having all the answers, it's about trusting God's direction. When you wrote that goal, reached out for support and took that step, you opened a portal for God's provision to flow. Now keep your eyes open for His surprises, because His ways are higher than yours. Let's talk about someone who trusted God's surprises. Thomas, a 45-year-old teacher from Phoenix, Arizona. After a divorce drained his savings, he feared he'd never achieve his dream of publishing a children's book. A podcast on God's provision challenged him to act. He wrote a goal to finish his manuscript in 30 days, emailed a former student who worked in publishing, and self-published his first chapter online. That student shared his work with a publisher, and within months, Thomas had a book deal. Today, his books are in school libraries, inspiring young readers. His story isn't verified, but it's a mirror for your potential. Like Thomas, your faith in action unlocks God's divine provision. Now, let's get to the core of this moment. Why does God want to fund your life? Because your breakthrough is a signpost, a beacon that declares his power to a doubting world. When he funds your business, restores your family, or breaks your financial chains, it's not just for you. It's for the skeptic who'll believe again, the weary who'll hope again, the lost who'll find their way. Zechariah 4:10 says, "Who dares despise the day of your small steps today?" Writing that goal, making that call, taking that action, are the seeds of a legacy that will outlive you. God's funding is an invitation to partner with him, to steward his resources for his glory. But what about those moments when the promise feels far off? When the bank account is low, the job hasn't come, or the dream seems stalled? That's when you lean into Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Your faith isn't about seeing the whole path. It's about trusting the one who paved it. Like Elijah in 1 Kings 17, who saw God's provision through a raven and a widow, your breakthrough may come in ways you never expected. Keep walking, keep believing, keep acting on those 3 steps. As we stand at this divine threshold, chosen one, I need you to feel the urgency. This isn't a casual moment, it's a divine window, a portal through which God's funding is flowing. Revelation 3:20 says, "Here I am, I stand at the door and knock," but today, God isn't knocking. He's holding the door wide open, beckoning you to step into your prosperous life. The question isn't whether he'll fund your dreams, it's whether you'll trust him enough to cross over. Fear may whisper, "You're not enough," but faith shouts, "God is more than enough." So what's stopping you? Is it the fear of failure, warning you'll fall short? Or the fear of success, whispering that abundance will overwhelm you? Maybe it's the lie that you're not chosen, that prosperity belongs to others. Let me prophesy over you, you are not replaceable. You are the answer to someone's prayer, the solution to someone's need, the miracle someone's waiting for. Your life matters, your choices shape eternity, and your obedience unlocks legacies. Picture those generations. Your children, their children, walking in freedom because you dared to claim God's provision today. But what if the small step you take today is the spark that ignites a revival, a movement, a legacy that transforms nations? That question reverberates like a divine echo, chosen one. What if the small step you take today is the spark that ignites a revival, a movement, a legacy that transforms nations? You're standing at a sacred threshold where God is proclaiming that he is now funding your life completely. No more worries. Picture a radiant celestial river, its waters shimmering with golden light, flowing from heaven's boundless treasury into every parched corner of your life, your finances, your dreams, your divine purpose. This isn't a fleeting wish. It's a covenant etched in Philippians 4:19, where God promises, "My God will meet all your needs according to the riches of his glory in Christ Jesus." Your prosperous life is not a distant dream, it's a divine reality, and God is ready to fund every facet of your faith journey. But here's the truth that will set your spirit ablaze. Your breakthrough is a catalyst, a spark that can ignite hope in others, a legacy that will ripple through eternity. Are you ready to step into this divine provision, or will fear keep you from the overflow God has ordained? Feel that tremor in your soul, that quickening in your heart. It's not coincidence. It's the Holy Spirit awakening your spiritual DNA, reminding you that you were chosen before the dawn of time. Ephesians 1:11 declares, "In him we were also chosen, having been predestined according to the plan of him who works out everything in conformity with the purpose of his will." You didn't stumble upon this message. Heaven orchestrated this moment, piercing through the chaos of a distracted world to reach you. For too long you've borne the weight of lack, bills that suffocate, dreams that seem impossible, nights spent wondering if God's abundance is for someone else. But listen closely, chosen one. Every financial struggle, every closed door, every tear shed in secret was not rejection. It was divine preparation. Like clay shaped by the potter's hands, your trials have been molding you for a prosperous life so glorious it demanded this refining. The enemy thought your hardships would shatter you, but God whispers today, "I've been sculpting you for overflow." Let's dive deeper into this video's unique angle. Your faith isn't just about overcoming fear. It's about igniting a legacy that transforms nations. Fear may guard the door to your breakthrough, but faith is the spark that sets the world ablaze. Every time you've hesitated to start that ministry, to pursue that career, to forgive that person, fear was standing at the gateway to your destiny. But Isaiah 41:10 proclaims, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God." God's presence is your shield, his promise your sword. And today, you're cutting through fear to claim your divine provision. Picture Nehemiah rebuilding Jerusalem's walls despite threats and mockery. Your faith today rebuilds not just your life, but the hope of those around you, a legacy that nations will remember. Now, let's anchor ourselves in those 3 actionable steps, because they're your keys to unlocking God's funding. You've already written a specific financial goal for the next 30 days, maybe saving $500, 0 cents, applying for a loan, or launching a project. Habakkuk 2:2 says, "Write the vision, make it plain," and your written goal is a prophetic seed sown in faith. You've reached out to someone who can support your dream, a mentor, a friend, or a colleague. Proverbs 15:22 teaches, "Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed." Your breakthrough flows through divine connections, and you've taken one tangible step today: registering a business, updating a resume, or researching opportunities. James 2:17 declares, "Faith without works is dead," and your action is the spark that ignites God's provision. These 3 steps are your foundation, chosen one. No new tasks are needed. Just walk faithfully in these and watch God's overflow manifest. Let's meet someone whose spark ignited a legacy. Ruth, a 48-year-old librarian from Memphis, Tennessee, struggling with medical debt, she dreamed of starting a literacy program for low-income families, but feared she lacked the funds. One evening, a message like this stirred her spirit: "God is funding your vision." She took 3 steps, wrote a goal to fund 1 workshop in 30 days, called a local non-profit leader for guidance, and created a crowdfunding page. That leader connected her with a donor who funded her first event. Within a year, Ruth's program had served 300 families, and she now trains others to replicate it. Her story isn't verified, but it's relatable because it mirrors your potential. Like Ruth, your small steps in faith can ignite a movement that transforms lives. Now imagine standing before that celestial river of provision, its waters surging with divine abundance, wealth for your calling, resources for your dreams, overflow for your legacy. On one side, you see the wilderness of lack, where fear and doubt have held you captive. On the other, you see the promised land of prosperity, where God's funding flows without limit. Joshua 1:11 commands, "Get ready to cross the Jordan River." into the land I am about to give. This is your moment to cross over, to leave the wilderness behind and step into the land of promise. But crossing requires boldness, because the enemy will roar loudest when you're closest to your breakthrough. Let's pause to connect with this community of chosen ones. If you feel God's promise of a funded life setting your spirit ablaze, type "I am igniting my legacy" in the comments below. Your declaration is a spiritual milestone, a signal to heaven that you're ready to claim your divine provision. And pray for the person who commented before you. Your prayer could be the spark that unlocks their breakthrough. This is how we rise together, a remnant forging legacies that glorify God. Your comment isn't just words, it's a flame for others still lost in lack. Now let's shatter another lie the enemy loves to whisper: you're too late. Maybe you're thinking, I'm too old, I've missed my window, my mistakes are too many. Let me prophesy over you, your timing is God's timing. Your age doesn't limit His plan. Your failures don't cancel His purpose. Look at Abraham, called at 75 to father nations. Look at Caleb, claiming his mountain at 85 in Joshua 14. Isaiah 46:4 promises, even to your old age and gray hairs, I am He who will sustain you. Your setbacks are stepping stones to a comeback so radiant it will silence doubters. God's funding flows to those who trust His timing, not their own. But here's where it gets practical. God's provision often arrives in unexpected ways. A sudden idea, an unlikely connection, a door you didn't see before, that nudge to call someone, that dream that won't fade, that opportunity you've overlooked. These are divine portals. Proverbs 3:6 says, in all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. Your faith journey isn't about controlling the outcome, it's about trusting God's surprises. When you wrote that goal, reached out for support, and took that step, you opened a portal for God's provision to flow. Now, stay alert for His divine appointments, because His plans are always perfect. Let's talk about someone who embraced God's surprises. Mark, a 40-year-old electrician from Denver, Colorado. After a layoff, he feared losing his family's home. A sermon on God's provision challenged him to act. He wrote a goal to start a solar panel installation business in 30 days, called a former client for advice, and applied for a small business grant. That client referred him to a contractor, and the grant came through today. Mark's business employs 10 people, and he funds scholarships for trade school students. His story isn't verified, but it's a mirror for your potential. Like Mark, your faith in action unlocks God's divine provision. Now let's get to the heart of this moment. Why does God want to fund your life? Because your breakthrough is a beacon, a testimony that declares His power to a weary world. When He funds your ministry, restores your finances, or launches your dream, it's not just for you. It's for the doubter who'll believe again, the broken who'll hope again, the lost who'll find their way. Malachi 3:10 challenges, 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 challenges. God's funding is an invitation to test His faithfulness, to see His overflow in your life. Your prosperous life is a sign that He's still moving mountains. But what about those moments when the floodgates seem shut? When the bills pile up, the job doesn't call, or the dream feels stalled? That's when you lean into Hebrews 11:1. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Your faith isn't about denying reality. Like the widow in 1 Kings 17, who shared her last meal with Elijah, your small faith can unlock abundance when you keep giving, keep trusting, keep acting on those 3 steps. As we stand at this divine crossroads, chosen one, I need you to feel the urgency. This isn't a casual moment, it's a divine portal, a window through which God's funding is pouring. Revelation 3:8 declares, "I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut." That door is open now, but it won't stay open forever. Not because God is harsh, but because divine opportunities align with divine timing. Esther didn't wait for safety to save her people. Noah didn't wait for rain to build the ark. You can't wait for fear to fade or doubts to vanish. Your faith journey is calling you to act now, to claim the prosperous life God has funded. So, what's holding you back? Is it the fear of failure, whispering you'll fall short? Or the fear of success, warning that abundance will change you? Maybe it's the lie that you're not chosen, that prosperity is for others. Let me speak truth over you. You are not ordinary. You are the answer to someone's prayer, the solution to someone's need, the spark for someone's revival. Your life matters, your choices shape eternity, and your obedience ignites movement. Picture those generations, your children, their children, walking in freedom because you dared to claim God's provision today.